These creatures can dig fast. When it reached the main chamber where I was at, I shot it until it fell limp and wasn't breathing. Hello and welcome back to Talk About Strange. Thank you for joining me here today. I got another really fun story to share with you. I think you guys are going to enjoy. This comes in from Joann. She tells us about how she was recruited to become prey for a group of Wolfman soldiers. So it's really kind of a fun story. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. I also want to point out I finally got my own Talk About Strange t-shirt. You guys have been talking about them and complimenting how comfortable they are and the high quality. So I wanted to find out for myself, and I finally did. I got some. I really do. You guys are right. They are very comfortable. I really enjoy it. I also got myself this little laptop blanket to kick back and enjoy. And you guys can do the same just by going over to my homepage. You'll see the store there. We got some products right on front. You can also go to that, open up the store or follow the link to the store where there's a whole bunch of different stuff on there. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. You got to check it out. It's really cool. We've had some really good feedback about the quality of this stuff. So check it out. Get your own blanket so you can kick back and listen to these stories when I share them. All right. So let's get started with this next one right now. This comes in from Joann. My first training session with the Wolfmen. This experience happened when I was about 8 or 9 years old. I lived in a trailer park next to the river. The area was a hangout for us young kids. See the photo attached. These areas marked in red were spots where the encounters occurred between the times of 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. I don't remember every single detail or some names. However, I can give you a brief glimpse into the day. I have changed the names of the men and the girls involved. It was a sunny summer morning between June and July of 1981, about 9 a.m. I, Joann, was with my sibling Anne and two of our friends, Mary and Lucy. We went down to the river to the hillside between the tracks. There was an area that had 2 square holes. One of them we used like a fort area and dug tunnels into the hill. As we dropped down into the hole, we started to prepare to dig. We didn't notice at first, but in the northwest corner, there was a young man around 19 or 20 years old. He was covered in leaves, curled up in a ball of sleep. He had a white t-shirt and light-colored denims with blood on them, no shoes. The man was startled by the 4 of us coming down there. He kept telling us that we had to leave, that bad things would happen if we stayed. Soon after he said that, we started hearing howls in the distance that sounded far off to the southeast, but getting closer. We thought it was just a pack of coyotes in a park reserve nearby. Then we noticed that the man had passed out. We were determined to help because he was badly injured. We put together a quick plan. Lucy went to call for help. Anne and Mary ran down to the road to flag down any emergency vehicles when they came, and I stayed with him. We set up a time limit that if no help arrived, we'd meet back at the hole around 10 a.m. This was about 9:30 a.m. Anne and Mary returned on their bikes around 10 a.m. The weather started to turn cloudy and cold. The holes kept getting closer and louder, then abruptly stopped. During that time, the man woke up and seemed to be a little more alert. He told us his name is Ian. He asked us why we didn't leave, and we told him that 3 of us did, but 1 didn't come back. He told us that we were in danger there and said that we needed to hide down back in the tunnels. We did as he asked and hid along the walls in the cuddy holes that we had dug previously. This was around 10:30 a.m. We could hear voices of men in different areas around us. There was one older man with a deep voice, soothing voice, named Sean, maybe in his 30s. He called for Ian to come out and said that no harm would come to him. Sean was a young man with his teammate, Neil, about the same age as Ian and this man they called Sidekick. These men were armed trackers that were after him. Ian kept telling him he couldn't. Sean's voice kept getting closer and closer until he was about halfway up the hill to the hole. He asked him if he could come see what was wrong. The young man finally agreed to this, and Sean came up while the other man stayed behind. As they talked, he kept insisting someone else was there, but Ian kept denying it. He said he knew that there was somebody else there because of the phone call that came out for help. Meanwhile, he could hear the other man's voices as they moved in around us. Then we saw a few men taking position between us and the opposite hill between a small flat patch of ground. Sean, the man with Ian, called out to say that they were coming out. As they emerged from the hole, shots rang out. Sean yelled out, "There's children in here, there's children." At the bottom of the hill near the dirt path, the other young man, Neil, was shot and the sidekick was gone. Sean ducked and ran in zigzagged pattern down the hill to Neil and brought him back up to the hole with us. It was all very fast and chaotic. Shortly after that, it became a hostage situation. At this time, it wasn't law enforcement, it was a line of military type men on the opposite hillside across from where we were boxed in. A military looking man with a loud, booming voice and large stature showed up later. Along with that sidekick, he was the one in charge of everything, including the law enforcement that showed up later on that day. It was obvious that this man had no empathy or emotion. He just wanted a job done with, and these men back, dead or alive. He didn't seem to care that there was children involved. We heard activity above us on the tracks. The sound of men and dogs were walking through the grass. We thought these were just ordinary men. Turns out we were wrong. Neil lost a lot of blood and passed out. We tried stopping it using spare clothes that we had brought previously for digging. Sean and Ian told us what they were going to have to do to not be scared and to try not to make a sound. It was hard, but we did. Ian took me and my sibling to the cubby we had dug in the walls to the northeast side. Sean, our friend, and Neil moved to the entrance of the tunnel that we had dug to the northwest side. They were still in human form when they cloaked and put themselves in front of us. It was like time had stood still. Then we heard sniffing and low growls at the edge of the pit side, to the west and to the east of us. Finally, two wolf-like beasts stopped at the edge of the tunnel. One stayed while the other one leaped down in a hole, sniffed around for a few minutes, and then leaped back out. These beasts were what many call dogmen. They were brownish in color. Their hands and feet were like humans, but somewhat altered with long nails. They were about the size of a bull steer. Their heads were somewhat of a jackal, like the Egyptian god Anubis, with teeth of a wolf or hyena with fierce snarl. After that, we moved through the tunnel to the other pit hole on the northeast. Here, Ian recovered from his wounds while Neil was about the same. The three of us girls took turns leaving through the tunnels and through the thick sumac to the hillside to find out what was going on and reported back to the men what we saw. We then decided to move back to the other hole as it gave us a better advantage to move and more cover as the sun came out. Here we made our last stand as things scaled up. There was even more dogman and periodic gunshots rang out towards us. The three men decided the only way to protect us girls from getting shot or attacked by the dogmen was to change their form. They transformed into werewolves or wolfmen. Sean handed me a gun and some ammo. I don't remember what kind it was, but he told me how to use it and where I needed to shoot if I did. Then they changed, and their change was almost instantaneous with no bone crunching or snapping like you see in the movies. It was from one form to another. Their appearance was like dogmen, but different. They could talk verbally and through telepathy, what some people call mind speak. They were black, tall, and very muscular. Their heads were different. It was more like a wolf appearance with a longer nose, snout, just as menacing looking teeth. Their arms, legs, hands, and feet like a man, like in the movie Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman. We went back into the maze of tunnels and stayed in the main chamber that we had dug out previously. While Anne and Mary took escape tunnels, you could hear the dogmen infiltrating the hole. I don't know how many it was, but I did get a verbal message in my mind from Sean that one man made it into the main tunnel and that I would need to shoot him where he showed me earlier, but multiple times if needed. These creatures can dig fast. When it reached the main chamber where I was at, I shot it until it fell limp and wasn't breathing. Seemed like hours had passed. The sounds of the fighting gradually came to a stop. I heard Sean again telling me it was okay to come out with Anne and Mary. I softly called out to them. Mary, our friend, answered me, but my sister didn't. When Mary and I got back to the hole, the men had changed back into human form. Only Ian and Sean were alive, but Ian was badly injured and couldn't move. He held my sister in the air by her arms. The sidekick aimed his rifle at her. Law enforcement was finally there, but just seemed to be holding back the group of people that came to see what was happening. In that group was Lucy, her mother Sherry, and Mary's. Our mother never came. So Sean negotiated a deal that He and Ian would surrender to them if the man agreed not to harm Anne. They agreed. Mary was the first to leave. Sean escorted her to the flat piece of ground below and she went to her mother. After they left, he came back up the hill to get me. We only got about halfway down the hill when shot rang out. Sean dropped to the ground. So I ran back to the hill and into the hole with Ian. I knew right then and there this man wasn't letting them go alive. Ian, in a panicked rage, begged me to end him, saying that he couldn't control his other side. I told him over and over that I couldn't do that. Desperate, he told me who his family was and where they were. He begged me to let them know what happened, then sat in the southeast corner of the hole and told me that I had to do it before he changed. So I did as he asked and walked out of the hole with tears in my eyes. Knowing it was over and what I needed to do, I walked straight across where the small group of men were and demanded him to release my sister. That if he didn't, my next shot was aimed at Sidekick. He must have thought I was bluffing, but soon found out I wasn't when I shot him in the right shoulder. Again, I demanded my sister be released or the next shot would be higher. Anne and her mother, Sherry, somehow made it to where we were at. The military man put my sister down and told us that if we wanted to live, we'd have to do something for him. And once we agreed, he said that he would have someone let Sherry know what day and time. Anne and I never told our parents about this day. This is the day I was recruited as hunting prey for the Dogman Army trainers. Some of you out there heard of Victor from another channel. I don't care about the man who hosts it. This man was his father. I also helped train Victor when he was a young man. I do know about some of the experiences he talked about. I did find Ian's family later after I graduated high school and moved up north. But that's another part of my life where I found out about trafficking. I also know about the ladies that you have read about. This is hard to explain to anyone. If you and the ladies would like to know more, email me back. Thank you for reading my journey in life. Joann. Wow. All right, Joann. Thank you so very much for sending that in to us. That's a really kind of a cool story. Sure. I'd like to know what you know about the girls as well. You know, they have written into the channel exactly who you're talking about. So shoot me an email back on that. I don't know Victor myself, who you're talking about, but I'm sure some of you out there might. So you can leave that in the comments. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that story. It was kind of neat. And get ready for the next one. Get yourself a nice cozy blanket so you can kick back and relax and enjoy. And I will see you again really soon.